All right, here is a question from Charlotte. Charlotte says, what do you think about the extensive research into gut microbiome? There's a lot of evidence that highly processed food destroys the good bacteria and causes depression and anxiety. Is this partly the reason why highly processed foods cause anxiety and recovery? No, I don't think so. I think that's your fear of weight gain that causes anxiety and recovery. Is it all right to eat highly processed foods while in recovery with the aim of eating unprocessed foods when fully weight restored? Well, first of all, you shouldn't have any aims as to what you're going to eat when fully rate restored. Your aim should be to listen to your body and eat what it feels like you want. And most of us find that when we truly eat without restriction, what happens is in the initial stages of unrestricted eating, that's when our bodies are depleted, our bodies crave highly processed food. Good reason for that. It's easy for the body to digest. Then what we find is as we move towards nutritional rehabilitation, that evens out, it all balances out. You start wanting to eat things like vegetables again, but you don't stop eating processed foods. Oh God, I still eat processed foods. Not in the quantity that I ate when I was in recovery. I like the odd apple as well. But so I know that people with eating disorders tend to think black and white. You need to try and stop doing that. Teddy, stop fighting my shirt, little boy. Sorry. You need to try and stop yourself thinking so black and white. When they're doing research into gut microbiome and saying that it causes depression, anxiety, they're looking at people who eat highly processed foods as the majority of their diet for the majority of their lives, I'm expecting. It's not looking at people who are in recovery from eating disorders, who are in a depleted body, are in energy deficit. So you can't look at that sort of study and go like, oh, I can't eat processed foods, I might get depression. Do you know what give you depression? Fucking anorexia will give you depression. And also, often what we need to do in order to amend a medical emergency is not in itself healthy long term. So for example, chemotherapy, it's not good for you, long term. Nobody just goes and has chemotherapy for the health benefits. You do it to get rid of cancer, right? And so you're using something that arguably isn't great for you. And you're doing it to get rid of something that is definitely 10 times worse. But that's not a really good example. I'm not actually trying to use that as a complete too similar to the processed foods that we need to eat in recovery, because processed foods actually aren't, in my opinion, that detrimental to your health as part of a balanced diet. Whereas, a little bit of chemotherapy every now and then probably wouldn't be great for you unless you're trying to treat cancer. So, but you see what I'm saying? What I'm saying is we have to weigh things up and say, in the long term, what is actually going to be better for my chance of being a successful, alive human being? And then we have to make decisions based on that. And what you need to do to recover from eating disorder, which could kill you, and if it doesn't kill you, it will completely trash your life. You'll definitely be anxious and depressed if you continue to have an eating disorder. What you need to do is you are going to need to eat a ton of processed foods. The reason you need to eat a ton of processed foods is because your body is under-resourced and it can't get the nutrients it needs to get out of foods that it has to work really hard to digest. It just doesn't have that sort of energetic capacity. And so you have to be able to look at that and say, this is the reason that my body is directing me towards these foods, because my body knows that it needs the neatest energy package available. It needs foods that it can derive energy from. So in that respect, we can say that actually for a person who's in energy deficit, highly processed foods should be considered healthier. They have a greater health benefit to your body than fruit and vegetables do for a person who's in energy deficit. You really have to be able to look at things not black and white, and not some study said this about X, Y, and Z, and look at things that are relative to your situation. You are a person with an eating disorder who is in energy deficit, whose body is under-resourced, who needs the neatest form of energy you can possibly get. That's what's going to save your life. That's the action, and that's what you need to focus on. Don't get all bogged down with wondering, well, what's everybody else doing? What's everybody else eating? They're all not recovering from an eating disorder. You got to focus on what is actually relevant to your situation. Okay, me and actually Teddy's acting quite feral today for at least 3 minutes. Me and my feral cat are out here.